Welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and every episode we get into what has made our guests vulnerable and how they've learned how to own their awkward in order to live their best life. Stay tuned so you can hear every awkward moment in today's show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and today we have an author, J.C. Allen. J.C., welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, glad to have you on. So, J.C., in a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you what makes you so awkward so that you can share that with the world. But before that, why don't we let them get to know you a little bit? Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from?
Well, I'm currently living in West Hartford, Connecticut. I have lived all over the United States. But anyway, I am kind of a pianist turned pastry chef turned author.
Nice.
Basically, life has changed. I have adapted. Although the last one was actually a choice for me, and it was really what I had always wanted to do. And finally got to a point in life where I said, why am I not doing this? I have absolutely nothing to lose, and everything to gain. So I literally, less than a year ago, made the decision. In May, I quit my baking job for 2 months to finish one of the larger projects that I've been working on. In the meantime, I've been writing other stuff and things as well, but I wanted to finish this one because it's a book titled Song of the Whippoorwill, and it's actually based on a true story. I do have permission to have written it, but it's just a really great story. Technically it would probably be classified as a romance. It's an LGBT story, excuse me. Two guys actually grow up as friends, and later on some things change, and then some life happens, and I can't give too much away, obviously.
Right. Got to save some details for the readers.
Exactly. But the biggest thing is it's based on a true story, and it's just a really great story about life and about dealing with life as it comes and dealing with it well, and the good in life, and even seeing the good in situations that may not look so good and may not be so good. But there's always something good you can find in absolutely everything that happens in life. So that will be coming out about December 15th. Oh, excuse me.
Awesome. So about a month away?
Yeah, about a month away.
All right. I love that. And I've been privileged to see some sneak peeks, and I've gotten partway through the advanced version that I have. And I have to say, I don't read a lot of what I read is either nonfiction or self-help type books. I don't read a lot of fiction or romance. And I know you said this is based on a true story. It's a romantical true story from my perspective, but I don't know how it would compare to a romance, but I know that I would say what I've read is extremely inspirational.
Yeah, a lot of it is, I kind of, try to intentionally steer it that way because, it is very much romantic. There's a lot of romantic stuff in it, and, which is great. But yeah, a lot of it is really about just, letting the story inspire you to live a better life yourself. And even if your situation isn't exactly what's going on in the book, I try to write things in a way where, regardless of what you may be facing, you could take something away from that and apply it to your life.
Sure. And I think that when you read something, you know that the events actually happen, that there's a true story behind it. It helps you understand that someone has made it through this already. Someone has dealt with this. Someone has gotten their life to the place they want. already with these situations. And I think that creates so much motivation and inspiration for everybody.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just yeah. Excuse me. Um, yeah, and this I mean that was one of the most difficult things about writing it, especially that last like 1/3, where I mean it does
Mhm.
get kind of yeah. And it just I wanted to make sure that I put things in a way that anybody who read it could take something away from it, which isn't really
Right.
as easy to do as I thought it was going to be at first.
Mhm.
But hopefully I did do that. We'll find out.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I as an author as well, I know what you mean about that last third, because I feel like the hardest part of writing is the first sentence and then the last third of whatever you're doing, because you've already used up all your good ideas. you
Uh,
know.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then you've got to go back and bring it together.
Oh, exactly. And I actually wrote the ending first, but
Oh,
the
great.
first sentence, that like literally that first sentence, I rewrote
Mhm.
over 20.
Yeah.
I had counted it. It was like 23 times I rewrote that sentence.
Did you save all the versions of it so you can watch it?
I did. Actually, I did. Um, yeah, I mean, and I just kept going through, and I, have a separate notebook for all that kind of stuff, and I just each version of it. No, I wanted this way. No, that's not right. No, yeah. And so
Right.
finally, I settled on that one, and I shan't be changing it.
Well, and I think that for an author or an artist of any type, crafting whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're writing with words or painting a picture, you keep adjusting it and tweaking it. It's like finding the person that you love or buying the house that you want. At some point, you walk into one and you know it's home, or you meet somebody, you just click with them, and that's how this is. At some point, that first sentence, you're gonna be like, "That's the one."
Exactly, exactly. I did the same thing with the title. Months. I try to I like to have at least a working title, so to give me
Mhm.
some idea of what I'm working with. And
Right.
I I could not get a title, and for months and months I was like just going insane because I'm trying to work on this, and I couldn't find a title. One day I happened to be online, saw something on Facebook, clicked on it accidentally about whippoorwills, and ended
Right.
up spending 3 hours going down this internet rabbit hole. But at the very bottom, I found this really great folk tale that has been out of use for over 100 years.
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
about whippoorwills that just happened to apply perfectly to the storyline. So I ended up having to go back and rewrite probably 5 chapters to write the whippoorwill
Okay.
into it.
Right. And just in case people missed earlier, so the title is "The Song of the Whippoorwill."
Yes, yes,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah. I had
that's
to
awesome.
rewrite about 5 chapters to to
Okay.
to work it in
Goodness.
so it
To
made
get
sense.
it to fit. Yeah.
Yes, I
It's
mean it was
not
totally
easy.
worth.
So you've got
Um,
to be excited having that done and about to be out on the market.
yes, I am so excited. Although it is happening much sooner than I expected, my timeline had put me at about the end of February of 2019, and I'm basically about done now. Have a couple little things I want to like double check, make sure I'm happy with them, and then everything's good to go.
Perfect. Perfect. So JC, what is it that you're so awkward about, or that you've had to learn how to own in order to get to where you are today, where you're doing what you dream to do?
Actually, it was this experience really. Um, there was kind of a moment where, I'm generally a pretty confident person. I mean, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. I work on my weaknesses until they become a strength, and then I move on and start working on something else.
Mhm.
And this was such completely uncharted territory for me. that one day I realized if I was going to do this, I didn't have any choice but to have someone else who believed in me more than I believed in myself.
Oh, wow. That's
And
powerful.
that was really, yeah, I mean, that was a very uncomfortable feeling. It's still uncomfortable, because that's something I'm going to continue to need. Hopefully this is one of the worst books I ever write. I mean, writing is one of those things that the best thing you do won't be done till you're dead. So, because they'll never really, as long as you're still writing, they're gonna just, you could write something better. Hopefully, everything I write after this is better and better and better. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of progress. But so I'm going to continue to need that. So I've made a choice to do something where I am going to be dependent on other people at times to have enough, to have their faith in me push me through. And
right.
I've never really had that experience before. It was really gut-wrenching.
Right. So you consciously chose to find someone that believes in you more than you believe in yourself when it comes to your being a writer. Do I understand that right?
I mean, and luckily I had a couple people.
Okay. I was going to say, did you put a Craigslist ad out or what, like author seeking motivation?
I mean, it did make me think, though. I mean, they say, the number one reason people, don't follow their dreams is because of fear, which is certainly true.
Mm-hmm.
But, I would think a big part of it also has to be, who's going to believe in me when I can't believe in myself? So it's something everybody, and it was just, I mean, it was kind of like a major epiphany for me. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to have someone else who believes in me more than I do. So that I can get through those days when I want to say, screw this, it's not worth it.
Right.
So, if that makes any sense.
It does. I think some of our listeners might pull back a little bit because there's a fear of codependency or a fear of not taking control of your own destiny and happiness and relying too much on feedback for others. But I understand where you're coming from because I do know there are moments where I've had some dark days in the last couple of years, and there are moments where looking at people that I loved and respected and cared about, I would tell myself it is not something to be taken lightly when someone that you respect believes in you.
Exactly.
And sometimes, and sometimes you do need that motivation of, if they believe in me, why am I being so hard on myself?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you keep that in front of you, or how do you foster that relationship or that drive if your friends don't reach out to you, or if you're not quite sure how to feel?
They're actually, I save emails. I save messages.
Okay.
I think I showed you one of the emails that I got from someone, who would, and I mean, I save stuff like that, because people get busy, people have lives, can't always be right there. So yeah, I save stuff like that, and I print it. My walls are covered in things that people would, say to me that, if I were, feeling like maybe I wasn't quite adequate, and yeah, I mean, just mostly that. I just have tons of stuff all over my walls, and generally, they're pretty good. I mean, like I said, I have 2 or 3 people that I can kind of reach out to that are always there. So if one of them isn't there, there's, usually one of the others is, which I'm very lucky that way, because, I do have a few. And, but yeah, mostly just printed things I can see, I can look at, they're right in front of me every day. Every time I look up from my desk, there it is.
That is awesome. And I think we forget the value of keeping things right in front of us.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
how
I
many
mean,
times
if
like,
you in front of you,
oh, go ahead.
out of sight, out of mind, you know. So yeah, I have to keep things in front of me, or I will just, ignore them or forget them, or
Mhm. Well, and I think it's interesting that we forget to motivate ourselves, or we forget. Like, I think that you mentioned you had one that you shared with me last week, and that was a note that you found. I believe, what were you cleaning or looking for something else, and that popped up in front of you?
oh yeah, I was sorting through a stack of papers that I don't even know where they came from. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it was just I thought I had lost it, and yeah, it was. I was like, oh, So I actually ended up printing that one up. I printed an extra copy and tossed it up, and then printed another copy to keep in an actual file in a filing cabinet.
Oh, nice. That's such a smart idea, because I think we're always chasing this different kind of motivation, but the best motivation is when people believe in you, and when people that when they're saying, oh, don't give up, or because you don't want to let down other people more so, at least for myself, than I care about letting myself down.
Yeah. And it's not, it's one of those things that, it's not something I need every day, but every day
Mhm.
I know that I'm going to need it. You know,
Oh, right.
I'm so much more conscious of the fact that, yeah, I mean, there's going to come another time when I'm going to be faced with a decision, or, I mean, somebody's going to come to me and they're like, hey, can you write us a screenplay? And in the back of my mind, I'm going to think, I've never written a screenplay, but I'm not going
Mhm.
to say that. I'm going to say, sure, yeah, I can do that. And then I'll kick myself later. But,
Right.
and I need somebody to say, you know what, you can do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about that when I look back on opportunities that I've had the last couple of years. There's a few that I inadvertently passed on by saying, I don't know how, or I haven't done that yet, instead of saying, sure, I can do it, because I know I can figure out how to do it. I just have always been brutally honest, and sometimes, you know, like hurtfully honest about myself when I say, oh, I haven't done this yet, but I'll figure it out for you, instead of saying, I can do that. I don't have any doubt that I'll have it done.
Yeah,
And then, of
exactly.
course, like you said, kicking yourself afterwards.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
So now you've got this book all done, about ready to go. What's next on the radar? Is it book tours and signing parties, or you got more writing in the works?
I actually have two more books planned. And I also wanted to mention before I forget, I will actually be donating 10% of the first year's profits from the Song of the Whippoorwill to the American Cancer Society.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, and of course, yeah, and that will be at the end of, from whatever the December 15th till next December 15th. Once
Right.
that's over,
Okay.
look and see what the profits are. 10% of that will be donated to the American Cancer Society.
That is
Um,
amazing.
I have a couple more books outlined, but I also really want to do. I am all about supporting good, you know, nonprofit organizations that are doing good for the community, and just giving back as much as possible. And so, what I think I really want to take probably next fall. I considered it in the spring, but I think I'm going to push it back to the fall, because I can hit some university campuses and things this way. But I wanted to
Mhm.
do a road trip reading tour, and
Oh,
use it to help raise awareness about LGBT youth homelessness, and
okay.
to raise some funds. So, like, a portion of whatever's made during that time will be donated to organizations that help LGBT homeless youth, or youth that are at risk.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I'm obviously like I just came up with it last week, so I'm kind of looking into it. And if there's
Looking at the
anybody,
details still.
yeah, I mean if there's anybody who knows of someplace, Gay Straight Alliance at a school, a university center, local LGBT center, library, whatever. I mean, feel free to hit me up on Facebook and let me know, and I will keep that location in mind for for when
For the tour.
I start making some more concrete plans.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, you can find J.C. Allen on Facebook using that name, initials J.C., last name Allen, A-L-L-E-N. There is a link in the description to the show, so you can click on that to easily go directly to his Facebook page as well. So, J.C., what is it, in your description, you talk about having a passion for writing and determined to not, that a belief that success is determined not by the great things one achieves, but their ability to empower others. What is it that drives you to write and want to write so much?
I want to write. My main mission in writing is to write things that challenge people to live more authentically. And the reason I do that is because of my belief about success, and that is that there's nothing you will experience in your life that is more empowering than being true to yourself.
Right. I definitely believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most empowering experience you can have. And so, yeah, and it's just, excuse me. So it's mostly just following in line with, what can I do to empower others to succeed and achieve, whatever their greatness may be. I mean, it could be being president. We could use a new one. And, or it could be just being a really great parent. Whatever your greatness is, yeah, I mean, that's all completely relative. But yeah, that's really, really what it's about more than anything. I mean, obviously, people have to make a living and so forth. But that's really why I chose to become a writer, was so that I can give something back. I mean, I haven't had a perfect life, but my life has been pretty good. And I've been very blessed with a lot of good friends, my family. I don't know, and I just love giving back. I love seeing other people do well,
Yeah. Well, and I think you brought up, you mentioned a really good, very powerful point in that, how did you word it, that you want to empower people for their greatness, whatever it is, because too often I believe we find that we equate greatness to professional success or career advancement, and it isn't related nearly enough to being a great person and excelling and being authentic with what you're doing, regardless of if that's in your personal life or a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have projects that you'll be putting out there outside of books, or can people see things from you on your Facebook page to keep motivated? Or
I've been working on getting some posts ready. I do have a few ready to actually, or almost ready to actually get done up. I am as you know, I am extremely technologically challenged. So,
sure. You're a writer, not a techie.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring out little by little. So I do have a couple things I got almost the way I want them, so I can get them posted, and a couple other ideas that I have that shouldn't be too difficult for me to put together, so I can actually start getting some more stuff up on my Facebook. And I'm also working on, I'm trying to figure out LinkedIn, and which
expand the social network. Yeah, social networks are a beast, because as soon as you get one down, the next one has a completely different level of intricacies and differences and nuances. So it can be a little daunting. Learn one at a time, and then once you're comfortable with that, move on, and it'll be great.
Ooh,
It's amazing. I know I've seen some of the quotes that you've done on your Facebook posts that I believe some of them are quotes directly from Song of the Whippoorwill.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually going through trying to find some photos to that are public domain, so I'm not like stealing anything from anyone. But as well, I mean, the other day I spent 2 days on that one photo trying to get that little blur spot out so that I
Mm-hmm.
So,
that can be a lot of fun.
I do have several. I mean, I could just post quotes. That would be like the most sensible thing to do. But why do that when you can make it complicated?
Right, exactly. Why not make it more fun, right?
Exactly.
Well, we're getting down to just a couple more minutes here, but what's some imparting wisdom or a quote you want to leave our audience with to really help them move forward this week?
I would say that we all experience times in our lives when we need someone who believes in us more than we do ourselves. If you are at a place where you don't need someone like that, then be someone like that.
I love that.
If you do need that someone and you don't think you have that someone, there is probably someone out there who does. But if you look and can't find them, I'm on Facebook.
Right.
Send me a message, send me a friend request. I'm there probably more often than I should be. So,
sure.
So yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I like that. I like how you say, if you don't need someone, then be someone, because that's what it comes down to. You can't have relationships are a two-way street, and sometimes you start out a relationship by giving and not by taking or needing, and who knows where that will help you down the road as well.
Exactly.
Well, JC, I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to join us today and getting your head out of the notebook to share your story.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Remember, listeners, you can find JC on JC Allen at Facebook, and tune in next week for another episode of Own Your Awkward. Thank you so much, JC, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for listening in for today's show. Be sure to visit awkwardcareer.com to continue your journey, and of course, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can find their awkward side and learn how to own it.